My name is Deborah Doyle. I'm the current president of United for Libraries, which is a division of the American Library Association. And we provide services and information to all kinds of library advocates, friends, foundations, trustees, commissioners, vendors, anybody who loves the libraries. They find their way to United, we hope. And again, as Beth said, happy National Friends of the Library Week, 20th anniversary. It's terrific. We've got a wonderful show for you today, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, where you are, whether you're watching a recorded session or whether you're with us live. We've got some great folks. So I'm going to get started and introduce you to our fabulous people. The two directors of the film are here with us. We're just so lucky to do that. Dawn Logsdon is the director of Free for All. She produced and directed also and edited Faulknor, which is the untold story of Black New Orleans. Her editing credits include Jacques Pepin, The Art of Craft, The Weather Underground, Paragraph 175, The Castro, The Vanishing Line, and Have You Heard from Johannesburg, among others. Her compatriot, Lucie Faulknor, who you see on the screen, is the producer of Free for All. You will also hear her voice in the film. She's an arts management and documentary film professional. She's the founder of Serendipity Films, LLC, which is the producer of this film. She produced the award-winning documentary Faubourg Trame, The Untold Story of Black New Orleans, and Lucie's work with San Francisco Jazz, City Arts and Lectures in San Francisco, the Dublin Fringe Festival, and more. She holds a master's in nonprofit administration. Deanna Griffin is the executive director, and now we're going to move into the folks who have specific library experience. Deanna Griffin is the executive director of the Friends of the Library, Friends and Foundation of the Library in San Helena Public Library. She's a seasoned leader in humanities, arts, culture, and a lifetime fan of libraries. Deanna became executive director of Friends and Foundation in San Helena in early 2024. Prior to that, she delighted in over 30 years in curatorial, collections, and senior management roles in fine art museums in Boston, San Francisco, and St. Louis. Deanna returned from Missouri to her home state of California in 2021 to be near family. She's actually over the hill from me. Her academic work in art history, museum studies, and nonprofit management was completed at UC Berkeley, Boston University, and Harvard. She remains an avid student of all that life offers. And finally, we have Nate Coulter, who is the executive director of the Central Arkansas Library System. Hi, Nate. Nate is a native of Nashville, Arkansas. He graduated from college and law school at Harvard University, then later earned a master's of library and information science from the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee. In March 2016, he became the executive director of the Central Arkansas Library System. CALS has 15 libraries, an annual operating budget of approximately $29 million, and more than 300 employees. Nate is married to Natalie, who is an assistant principal at Roberts Elementary School in Little Rock. They have 4 adult children, 2 grandsons, and their rescue pup, Theo. And with that, it's going to be terrific. You're going to see a little part of the movie, and then we're going to be talking about it. Lucie and Dawn are going to talk about the movie a little bit, and then we're going to hear from both Nate and Deanna about how they've used it, what they suggest, and that sort of thing. And then we'll take your questions after that. And with that, I think we're going to go straight to the film. Yes, Beth?
When you pick your first book,
the kid sort of, oh, you mean I can take it home?
I must say, you run a very nice little establishment here.
Then don't be such a stranger.
As soon as they think of a library, they think quiet. You know, it's supposed to be quiet in the library. Well, if they come here, it's not quiet.
My philosophy is that I'm throwing a party every day, and everybody is invited to the party.
This is not the old maid stereotype.
Public libraries reflect what's going on.
the library of all public institutions in America, we are the most trusted place.
The United States built up a great network of public libraries.
They were designed by men, and they were built by men, but it was the women that gave these buildings meaning.
And there's something spectacularly American that this information was available to everybody.
In a nation where literacy was the line between citizen and slave, there is no greater place to me in the world than a library.
For the first time ever, the Carnegie Library System says it's shutting down branches.
We didn't realize how dire the situation was. As of right now, the Douglas County Library System is closing.
Kind of saddened. Our libraries are going away.
Why public libraries? Why do we need a library? Everything's going to be online.
We need them because we care about learning and we care about knowledge, and we need to express that together.
Our country is divided. That means that we need to offer all points of view and be the people who bring people together.
In a time that people are needing a safe place, public libraries are there.
The public library is one of the purest expressions of the possibility of democracy in America.
You see it in many Carnegie libraries. It's on the threshold or on the frieze above, free for all.
Public resource, how amazing is that? Right at your fingertips, right in your neighborhood, and free.
That's a little bit of a taste for it. And so I would love to have Dawn and Lucie come on and tell you a little bit more about it. This is a wonderful taste of it. And if you haven't seen it yet, please, please, please see it. We'll make sure that you know how to see it, but you also have an opportunity to have it in your own neighborhood. So John, Lucie, you want to come on and talk about your fabulous movie?
Lucie? I think we may have lost her for a second. Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she is.
Hi. I thought I undid myself earlier. Anyways, where am I?
We hear you, we just can't see you.
I just did a ask to start video. So does your
It says start video, yeah.
And then click that to start. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
There
Here I
we
am.
are.
Hi,
There.
everybody.
Hey
Thank
there.
you so much for being here. I'm super excited to be in this presentation, and I want to thank Beth and Deborah for inviting us, and for Deanna and Nate for agreeing to participate and letting you know how they use the film. First, I want to say that was an old trailer. It said it was supposed to come out in 2020, but as we all know, the world stopped and archives closed, and a lot of other things happened, so it was delayed a couple of years while we reconfigured the film and brought in a little bit more urgent information. But I want to say that the film, it's more than a documentary. It's a love letter. It's a call to action. And it's reminding us how important libraries are, and how it's one of the last truly democratic institutions that we have. One of the things that most people ask us when we go on the road is, how did we get the idea for the film? And so I'd like to just give you a little background information about it. It started when we were working on Faubourg Treme. We were in New Orleans, and we were almost done with that film, and then Katrina hit, and as a result we evacuated to Baton Rouge, and with our summer clothes for a weekend, because that's what you do with hurricanes. You leave and then you come back and everything's fine. You just clean up a bunch of trees. But this time was different, and it was clear the whole city flooded and we weren't able to go back. And so we went to the East Baton Rouge Public Library. All the cell phone towers were gone, so we couldn't phone. I'm from San Francisco, so I couldn't phone home and tell people we're alive and well. So we went there, and what we saw there just changed us. We saw people lined down the street, and librarians were there signing people up for library cards so that they could sign online and find lost loved ones or pets. They were there helping people fill out FEMA forms and insurance forms. They were there to give them help with Red Cross, or even just to charge a phone. So when the cell phones really did come on, we were able to get on there. But I gotta say, it was one of the most beautiful sights we'd ever seen because we had no idea librarians were first responders. Fast forward a few years, we had to finish Treme, and then we were promoting it. And in 2008, the financial crisis hit, and we started hearing about all these libraries closing, just completely closing, and hours slashed. In fact, in San Jose, which is the home of Silicon Valley, which you would assume was a very wealthy community, they closed 5 branches, and they only had one branch open for a few hours on Sunday, which is, in my opinion, like one of the only times you could families can get together on a Sunday and go to the library, or because it's the only day off a lot of people have, working people have. So that's when we said we have to, that's got to be our next film. So we went local, and we went to the San Francisco Public Library, Maine, which is this crazy mix of city halls, across the street, the Asian Art Museum, and the Twitter buildings next door. There's Hastings School of Law, or the UC School of Law. There's also methadone clinics and the Tenderloin community, which is pretty like down and out. So all these people would come together in this one big library, and there was never a dull moment. And we were gonna film for a year and put it all together to be like a day in the life of the library. We took it to an ALA conference, and we put together a panel of some people and showed clips, and people loved it, but it wasn't telling the whole story. They said, there's so many libraries that are struggling fiercely. And so we went on the road, and we started discovering all these incredible stories. We saw, libraries feeding kids, helping people apply for jobs. You could take out cake pans and fishing poles, and where they were finding community. It was a place that they could go to. So that's why this film is so important right now, because it's community. It's I feel like we've lost a lot of it with in the last few years. The people are in their little silos, and they're not really getting together with anybody. And so with this film, we wanted to tell, well, as we heard the stories, Dawn actually fell in love with the history, and that's when we found out that it wasn't always free for all, and that we had to tell that story as well. And it's the beauty of how the film evolved. I mean how the libraries evolved as well as the film, but it's the history of America, and we found it beautiful, and how the history of America is obviously full of strife, especially right now, but it seemed to finally come together where people could mix it up. And now it seems like we're going backwards. So this film is why it seems especially urgent right now, where libraries have become the front lines of our democracy, when public spaces, truth, and even civility are under attack. They are. We want you to use this as a tool to spark dialogue, to invite your community in, to remind people like what's at stake if they're not there anymore. So we're not just sharing information about the film, but it's an invitation for you all to engage with your own community, so you could reach beyond the choir. All the library lovers out there, we know who they are, but there's a lot of people who think like we don't need libraries anymore. We have the internet. And so we need them more than ever, in my opinion. And that's why I want to introduce my partner, Dawn Logsdon, over there. She's going to tell you how you can share the film with your community. She can talk about our impact campaign, and through Kinema, where you can have a one-stop shopping. You can show the film. You can have a discussion guide and other marketing tools, so that the film and your library will travel beyond its doors. So take it away, Dawn.
Thanks, Lucie. Hey, everybody. I am coming to you from the beautiful, very small town of Williams, Arizona. For those of you who have seen the film, you'll get a kick out of this. I'm on a road trip with my mom, who's in the film. And 50 years ago, we start out the movie by us going on road trips to go camping in the summer. She was a public school teacher, and we would jump around and visit libraries the whole time while we were traveling. So we're reliving that moment. And I told her, oh, I have to get on this Zoom call, and we're not going to make it to the Grand Canyon Lodge in time. So let's go find the closest library. So that's where we are. And the librarian is very kindly bearing with us here as we do this Zoom call. They do close in an hour, so I will have a hard cutoff because they're going to boot me out. And hopefully the internet will be strong. It's a little odd to brag about your own film and try and pitch it to people, especially because you guys have spent your lives and your careers and a lot of your energy advocating for the same causes as this film espouses. But I will tell you that we have had over 700 screenings around the country now, along with a national PBS broadcast. And the resounding message we keep getting is, thank you so much for telling our story. That this is a really crucial moment, and that nobody's ever seen this story told quite this way from a national perspective, that also focuses really strongly on not just like how people built the New York Public Library and the Chicago Public Library, but how America was the first place to really have a national network of little libraries all around the country. And it was a grassroots effort where people came together across all kinds of political differences. In most cities, these efforts were led by women. And I know that that's true at a lot of Friends and Foundation chapters too. So I hope you can take some inspiration from it in this difficult moment that a lot of us are in with our libraries. Funding is being cut. And I hope you take some comfort in the fact that we are in a similarly difficult moment as independent documentary filmmakers who make films about American history. That are funded by the NEH, the NEA, and air on PBS. So it's a really critical time, not just for public libraries, but for all of our institutions. And I hope you'll find that the film speaks to that in the broader picture too. That said, you can watch the film for free right now on pbs.org as long as you're a PBS member. And if you are not a PBS member, I encourage you to join because they need as many members as they can get right now because their funding has been slashed pretty dramatically. So you can
Much
watch
cheaper
it at
than
pbs.org. Free for All Films. We're on the Independent Lens series. We were very proud to be chosen by them to air the film, and we may be their second to last, God forbid. Hopefully they will be able to carry on, but right now they only have the funding to run one more season. So you can watch it there for free to preview it, see if you think it's right for your community. And that is only for home viewing, for private home viewing. If you want to host a community screening, which is what we're emphasizing right now, I'm going to walk you through the ways that you can do that and also some of the reasons that you can do that. And I'm just going to start with a few slides because we worked out some graphics that let's see, Beth, if you can turn on sharing for me, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And I think, can you guys see a slide with a bunch of bubbles?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. There we go.
Ah, there we go.
So this is sort of our way of thinking about the ecosystem of this film and all the different people who are involved in helping us get the word out that we want to partner with, that it advances a lot of their goals. These are the organizations that we've been working with and will hope to continue working with, Friends being right up there at the very top. So far, we've had about, I would say about 300 different PBS stations co-host and sponsor screenings that were separate from the broadcast, probably about 200 library staff people, and the numbers are starting to increase with friends and foundations as people realize that it can be a really effective fundraising tool, community building tool, and hopefully our next analyst will speak to that. But I want to talk about the whys a little bit. These are our visions of why this film is important and why the message that you guys want to get out to your communities, I know, in terms of building support for libraries. I'm going to whip through these because I see that we're close to our time, but food for thought. And lastly, this is our big goal. The choir is huge for this film, as you know. Millions and millions and millions of Americans love their libraries. They use their library card every day. But there's a large community beyond the choir that I think it's especially important to reach right now. And we made this film very specifically trying to talk to that community, to some of those communities. So please encourage. Yes, Lucie.
You need to. You're still showing me an ecosystem of change.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's get back to. Oops. Hang on. Share my screen. Let's see. Sorry, folks. I'm not a big zoomer.
You're a boomer, not a zoomer.
There we go. Beyond the choir. And so did you not see the second slide too? Shall I go back to that one? Let me do that. So there's the choir, and this is what I was talking about in terms of reasons why this film is important right now and why all of us coming together to tell the story of the American Public Library and how unique it has been throughout history and how important it is that it keeps going. So we're excited that quite a few partners have come on board to help this campaign keep rolling. The way the film rolls out traditionally is it goes to film festivals, and then it has a broadcast, and then it continues with community screenings. We bypassed the festival circuit on this film. There are a couple other wonderful films out there right now that I encourage you to watch that are on the festival circuit. We bypassed it because we were offered this opportunity to go straight to national television, and that's what we did. But right now, our big emphasis is bringing people into libraries or into community centers, into churches, into high schools to watch this film together and have conversations. That's going to continue through the beginning of 2026. And then after that, we'll start making it available for educational sales and DVDs, and bringing DVDs in libraries so that individuals can check them out from the library as well. But right now, we just started an initiative, thanks to the Carnegie Corporation, who has been one of our sponsors of the project for quite a while. They are making it possible for us to make the film available for free to libraries that qualify, primarily small and rural libraries that are really financially strapped. So if you are a Friends or a Foundation chapter that is partnered with one of those libraries, you also qualify in terms of a free screening. And I'm going to walk you through that super briefly. We're happy to answer more questions about that later because it's a lot of information and I'm going to have to whip through it. But if you go to our website, which is easy, freeforallfilms.org, there's a little button right here. There are 1,000 copies available.
You gotta show your screen again.
Let's see. Find that.
And I put the direct link in the chat as well.
Oh, great.
There we
Okay,
go.
can you see it now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is our homepage. There are 1,000 copies that Carnegie made available for free. We're a little less than halfway through them after having just done a launch a few weeks ago at the American Association for Rural and Small Libraries. So don't delay. Once they're gone, they're gone. If you want to sign up for a free screening, you click there. It will tell you a little bit more information about how you qualify. These are terms that we set with ARSL and the Carnegie Corporation, and both organizations have agreed, as we've gotten back to them, that the spirit is more important than the letter. So if you feel like you qualify, you're in need, and you can't afford to rent the film for some reason, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. But right now, it's acquisition budgets that are under $50,000 per year for the library that you represent, or $7 per person annually. And you can contact us if you have other circumstances that would make that pressing for some reason, like last year you had a big budget, but this year you don't, or things like that. Once you do that, we'll send you the code. And if you don't qualify, we will also send you a discount code for listening to the webinar and as members of the wider community that supports library. It will then take you to this page, which is a digital platform dedicated to doing community screenings. It's called Kinema. And you have to create an account and it'll walk you through it. You can do either a live screening where they help you download the film. They're super helpful. They're live people that will answer all of your questions there when you call them or email them. You could either do a live screening at your location, or you can do a virtual screen. The choice is yours. And I think that's about it for my time. And please stay online at the end. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. And thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, both of you. There is a question about, is it possible for anyone to use the infographics that you were using? Is there someplace where they can, find those? Perhaps, Beth, we could post them, or if they're on your website, tell us that, Dawn and Lucie.
I'll send them to Beth, and she can disseminate
sounds
them
great.
as she would like to.
Sounds
great. That's a good idea. I should put them on the website.
What a good idea. See, we're community thinking already. And so with our remaining time, I would love to introduce people who have actually used, who have shown the movie and have used them. And so first we're going to hear from Deanna Griffin, who is, as I said, with the Friends and Foundation of the Santa Helena Public Library in California. Go for it.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I am in my home in St. Helena, California. That's northern Napa Valley. And I moved here a while back to be closer to my mother, who needed some support and help, which brought me to the area and ultimately brought me to the incredible opportunity I now have, which is to be at the helm of Friends and Foundation, a St. Helena Public Library support group. We are the only active support group in town, but we represent generations of support for the public library in St. Helena. This is a city that's having its 150th anniversary next year, and its library was first a subscription library in the 1870s and became a municipal publicly supported library in the early 1890s. And Friends and volunteers were already in place. The first formal Friends group was in 1969, founded as a charity, and the first foundation in 2008. They merged in 2013, and that's the group that I now head. It's a huge honor. And I first want to acknowledge that I am the head of an organization in a wealthy town. We have this history of agricultural success in the area, and some of you have heard about the Napa Valley and its wines. Many of the early progenitors of the current industry came out of St. Helena, also other cities in the county, but I do want to say it's my talking about a program that we carried out is in our own context, but I do believe that there's adaptable components that will be relevant for any organization that wants to bring this magnificent film their way. I also I should have started by saying thank you to Dawn and Lucie for thinking of me, to Beth for inviting me, and to Nate and Deborah, it's wonderful to see you. And thanks to each of you on the call now, and to those in the future who might be watching a recorded version of this. So I'm like saying hello to the future. It's an unusual opportunity. My own background, as you heard, is in art museums, but I did hop this fence to library charity work, and our organization includes just 2 part-time staff. That's me and 1 part-time administrator. Thank you for that link, Beth, for posting to our website. And I'm actually going to also throw into the chat right now a link to everybody, hold on, to the webpage that is active. That's our post-event page for those who want to look and see what's the feel of how we talked about this program. So the foundation, Friends, what we call the foundation, is a 501c3 charity, and that we focus exclusively on fundraising and advocacy on behalf of the single branch St. Helena Public Library. We are in this small community of about 5,400 residents, but we have a lot of passion for the library. This independent library gets about 85% of its funding from the city, from local taxes, and 15% or the remainder is covered by grants made by our foundation and a couple of very tiny restricted funds that the city holds. And April 21st of this year, we held a free screening of Free for All, and it was the fruit of my attending one of those early screenings that I think Lucie talked about in San Francisco at the San Francisco Public Library, during which I was there by myself, although in a crowded room of very excited librariophiles, and no one gave any actual cues, but I found myself weeping and laughing like at all the right moments, and looked around the room and felt very much a part of that audience. I ended the film screening thinking, my people need this. My board needs this. The library board needs this. In fact, my whole town needs this. How can I bring this film to my town? Knowing nothing about screening things in our city, being new to the role that I had. And I just approached Dawn after the screening and handed off a card and said that I was enchanted and would like to follow up, and could we possibly do this? And a handful of months later, there we were. We were incredibly lucky also that Deborah was available and nearby, and she became our moderator for the Q&A that Lucie and Dawn engaged in after the screening. The whole event got my board very excited. I got them excited by actually showing the clips, the preview, the trailer for the movie. Dawn and Lucie had it up online already, and I showed it to my board in a meeting, and I showed it to the library board, and by the end of it, they had done the crying and laughing at all the moments, and they were then super jazzed to make this happen. I was able to work with people in our city, that is Kathy Buck, who runs the Cameo Cinema, which is, I think, the remaining oldest continuously operating single theater cinema in our state. It's got state-of-the-art stuff in it because we're in this town. And it was great to be able to capitalize on what she has as a nonprofit rate for a night's screening. And basically, I did a back of napkin budget, knowing that the filmmakers deserved their full rate if we could swing it. I was also welcoming of the reduction of the screening fee that they offered as a function of us giving this the tickets away at no cost. So it was a total cost to me was going to be around $5,000. That's because of the cinema, the screening, the speaker fees, which we were happy to pay and are well deserved. But I know that Dawn and Lucie are very interested in reaching as many audience members as possible. So I can't speak for them, but I can say, be creative, show your passion, see what happens in terms of working with Serendipity Films on the possibilities. But remember that they're professionals and they need to be paid too. So I thought, okay, great. This is actually within, like, I had killed a different program earlier in the year. I was going to have some funds available, and I decided I don't care if it's all cost to us. We're going to do this as an advocacy event, and got the wheels all rolling. But my board members said, absolutely not, Deanna, you cannot just give away stuff in town. And I said, well, what? No, no, no. They helped me see that this is a community that's habituated to making donations when they receive free tickets, to having a raffle in which to participate. And now the scale of the donations or the type of raffle lots that were offered in this area are what they are. I was blown away. We ended up having, monetary outcomes that were greater than what I expected. Didn't cover our costs, but made it so that our net cost was under $2,000. So as percentages, I was shocked and grateful. But I do want to say that for me, the key measures of success of the event were that nearly every seat was full. We had booked more than the capacity of 140 seats for our town. And Kathy Buck at the cinema was shocked. She said, wait a second, this doesn't happen for charity events, and especially free tickets. I learned from her later that we should have overbooked by 10% or more. This was like a learning opportunity for me. If you're giving the tickets away, give away far more than you have seats for, because I wished that there had been rear ends in every single seat. I think it was possible because Dawn and Lucie and Deborah and the film really merited all of that. I also considered it a big success because the Q&A session was very lively. Our residents loved standing up and hearing themselves. Also, they loved especially the chance to have interaction around the film. Now, it doesn't have to be the filmmaker who is conducting a Q&A. It could have been, it could be the librarian. Our city librarian, Mara Strickler, also was there and made remarks at the beginning of the film, which was very special for our audience. She is not frequently a public speaker in that kind of format, and so that was very special. There are lots of people who could address the Q&A section, and I know that you have knowledgeable, passionate people in each of your areas to do that. Also, another success was that the Nextdoor feed in the area got all lively about it after the program, and that the local press included cover images and so on. But most of all for me, the success was the feedback that I got in the following weeks and in fact months. First of all, my board members wrote me thank you notes. I had not seen that before. It was very touching that they really appreciated that I had helped bring to the area something that really helped them see the bigger picture. This sounds very tone deaf, but I'm sharing with you my reality of truthfully dedicated populace, and the gratitude was what touched me. Library regulars stopped me as I'd be walking through to also express gratitude to, and librarians even said, hey, that was really cool. I didn't know X, Y, or Z. It's because we had made sure that as many librarians as possible could come to watch the film. And I'll say that, Dawn, the cohort that you referenced in one of your slides, the Beyond the Choir cohort, in the subsequent months has shown ripples of appreciation that may well have begun in April this year. And the goals listed in the impact campaign slide totally resonate in terms of the uphill battles that I have a little bit in this area. But I think that getting the ball rolling with a film like this that is very versatile, you can play it in a kind of straight manner, which is kind of how we did it in our community, but it has potential to emphasize other messages depending on how you frame it, what discussions you have before or after. But the final measure of success for me, I don't know, it's personal, was that I could see that the film was speaking to the audiences. A young person I know from their involvement in and around the library was seated near me. And when the film ended and the Q&A was over, they approached me and asked for a hug. And they said, this town is cool, but now I feel seen. And I thought, it is the library that can catalyze so many things. And that person being in that arena and a large audience having that experience really warmed my heart. I think if nothing else had happened as a result of that screening, I still would be happy. I am happy to go into greater details about anything, and during Q&A or separately, please write to me. I'll put my email up in a few seconds. But I will say that the donations that we received included my first corporate ask. My organization had never asked for corporate gifts for events in this format. They had for a gala that they used to do, but this was me just approaching a vendor who we work with all the time, and they immediately said, after I showed them the clip of the movie, they said, that is something we want to see. We want our town to see it. And they were happy to help and kick in. And the raffle items were from, I don't know, what was it, like 10 different businesses in the area, because they are fans of the library. But again, the film itself really motivated them. So I think, unless Deborah, you would like me to touch on anything else at this point, I'm happy to pass the baton, and I'll just throw my email into the mix.
Fabulous. I think we want to hear from Arkansas now. Hey, Nate. All right, you're on mute.
I was just saying the sun's gone
There we
since
go.
we started, so I had to move my camera a little bit. Hi, I am in Little Rock. I noticed there are a couple of people up in Berryville, Arkansas, who may be on the call, which is way up in Carroll County, 3.5 or so hours from Little Rock. So we have a little bit of a unique situation in my library. We, since 2013, I think, had a 315-seat theater that the library owns on our main campus in downtown Little Rock. And we had the opportunity to use that in many, many ways. We feel like we have learned a lot in the 12 or so years that we've had that theater about how to screen things, particularly things that are not as, maybe not as cultural pop cultural attractive as other things might be. So we have used that opportunity, used that theater to do things like this documentary. And I want to first thank Dawn and Lucie for doing the documentary. It's however long it took, it's worth it. It was a brilliant, I think, undertaking, and did a great thing for, as Deanna and others have talked about, for rallying people who work in the library space and who don't sometimes feel appreciated, or in our case in Arkansas, we're being vilified a little bit. We were motivated for a couple of reasons to do this. One is that we learned that we could do it in the period that was Library Giving Day. We screened it on April 1st of this year, which was Library Giving Day, which for most of you probably know is sort of the library version of Giving Day for nonprofits, and other organizations have their iterations of that. But we could screen it on the day that was Library Giving Day. We have had a Library Giving Day tradition of fundraising for several years. We thought this would be a way to amplify that and multiply our efforts, get a little more exposure for that effort by having this documentary screened. We had a grant that was awarded to us for $2,500, which allowed us to do some things we couldn't have otherwise done. We sent out, for example, about 1,000 mailed invitations to donors who are in our donor list who've contributed to the library historically. We also were able to do some things at the event that we otherwise might not have done, had some door prizes and just some things that would stir interest and we thought attract people to come to the event. We raised the visibility a little bit with some of the money that we were given in this grant. We partnered with the film to do a pre-screen, I guess, in effect, before it aired on PBS. We were running the 60-minute version of what is a 90-minute documentary. And again, the documentary touches on so many things that are core issues and core to the mission of public libraries that it's hard to imagine anyone who has any familiarity with the library, and most people who have more than a passing familiarity with the library, have a great affinity and fondness, affection for the library. But it's hard to imagine any of the people who have that background. I guess this is the choir that you're preaching to, coming to this documentary and not being emotionally connected to it. It was interesting. We screened it. Those of us who were on the program that night were invited to screen it on our computers in our homes or on television monitors. And there was a uniquely different dynamic in the theater of 315 people. We actually had about 100 and some odd, but in the large screen in the theater, people laughed at the proper times. There were emotional tugs here and there. And when you're watching it by yourself, screening it, it doesn't have that same emotional effect. So it was effective in the place of a large theater that maybe the people who watched the full 90-minute documentary on PBS didn't feel the full experience. So we were proud to have it, to have the opportunity to use our theater for it. And we were also in a unique situation, I guess, in the context of Arkansas library cultural wars at the time. There had been a long-running controversy of sorts with the legislature in the state of Arkansas having enacted in 2023 a statute that submitted librarians to potential criminal exposure for making available certain books that were deemed harmful to minors. It also changed the process for reviewing reconsideration of materials in the collection. And my library, the library in Little Rock and surrounding communities, along with some others, formed a group of parties who challenged that in federal court in the summer of 23. A judge granted an injunction, temporary injunction, and made that injunction final at the end of, permanent injunction at the end of 24 for the holidays. And so there was a lot of discussion. It was a high profile subject for 18 months. That litigation wound along. And I always told my staff who felt vilified and under siege that it's really an opportunity to remind people how important the library is to them. And I think this documentary underscores that opportunity when the library is taken for granted, perhaps because it's been there. When I took this job, I was a lawyer in my other life, and before I became the library director 10 years ago, I would go around telling people one of the great things about the library, unique thing about the library, is that it transcends all the partisan division and rancor in our community. That didn't age perfectly, but I still think that libraries are overwhelmingly popular, even in rural states and states that are conservative like Arkansas. Where I am sitting is not as conservative as where the two, Christie and Kelly, are in Berryville. But it's generally a place where even people who are conservative voters, conservative politics, can be helped to appreciate the library. One of the things that I loved about the documentary, and I think this is the kind of thing that you go beyond the choir with, you're talking to people who, if you can walk them through it, understand the value proposition of the library. One of the great ways that was illustrated in the documentary was the young woman who has, Dawn and Lucie may have to help me, a dozen children who are all homeschooled. They pile out of a van.
Absolutely. We spend a lot of time following a really fabulous homeschooling parent because we learned that libraries are super critical to the homeschooling community.
Yes, I have a homeschool member of my board who voted against the authorization of the law student, but she understands this proposition, which is what you captured in the documentary. The woman had challenged some book that was in the collection in the library. I think it was in Kansas or Iowa. And she didn't like the book, didn't think it was appropriate, didn't want her children to be exposed to the book in the library. That process worked its way, and the board decided to keep the book in the library. And the filmmakers did a great job of getting this patron on camera saying, well, I didn't like that decision, but hey, the library is just too important, too valuable for all of us. We're not going to not come to the library. And I think that's what I'm trying to tell people in places like Little Rock is, yes, you might not like some of the things that are in the library. I don't like a lot of the books that are in my library, but that's what a good library does. But hey, don't you think that the value you get collectively, all the things you get in the library outweighs your annoyance or your frustration or your opposition to certain things that are in the library. That's the essence of this deal that Americans started doing in the late part of the second half of the 19th century, which is we'll pool our funds, we'll buy a collection of materials, and we'll share those. And some of us will like some parts of it, and some of us will like other parts of it, and we'll get something out of it that is beneficial to all of us. And I think that was a great portion of the documentary that captured what I'm hoping people, even in parts of the country who are not like St. Helena, who have some skepticism about the value of the public library, can be helped through the documentary to see. So we had, as I said, I think 110 people there. We didn't do all this fundraising as a result of the video, of the documentary and the screening, but we raised about $14,000 for our library giving day. Some of that obviously was coming to us independently of this documentary being screened. But I do think it raised the profile. We had 3 librarians. I was one of them. We had a couple of librarians from outside of Central Arkansas who were on the panel, and then our library board president moderated the panel. So we had some people who had some experience get on the stage afterwards and answer questions. And again, to reiterate what Deanna said, the audience was engaged. They liked the documentary. They felt good being able to ask questions, and there were a lot of interesting observations made. So I will leave it there and hand it back over to Deborah. Sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. Thanks very much. That was a very quick run through, but you gave us lots of information. I'd like to say we showed it at my library, and we had a small crowd. And I think were I doing it again, and I think I'm going to suggest this to the library, that we do it again, and we make sure that people know that it's available also on television, because I'll take us back to something that someone says early in the film, or early in the short, and that was, I had no idea how dire things are. And I think one of the things that we're all here for is because we understand that things are bad in some areas, and can get worse in a lot of other areas. And so one of the things that this film can do is really bring people together and have that reminder that this is what libraries do, from my perspective, but also this is new information that I have never had before, and the history of the library and the different ways that libraries have been used by different communities is really a powerful one. But just watching the movie is not enough. It's wonderful that a group of people gets together and really feels it and feels the importance of libraries. But if you don't do something with it, and I think that's why people are listening to this webinar, if you don't do something with it, then I'm not going to say it's a waste, because it's a wonderful film, but it also is something that you can use to extend those conversations, to really widen things, as Deanna was saying. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but honestly, there are people who are now interested in giving money to libraries because they've seen what's going on nationally, who have never been asked before. You have to ask someone to give you money, but they've never been asked before, and now they're also paying attention to it. And so I think that even if you've never asked anybody for money, this is an incredible tool to be able to bring those community people together, and the people who maybe don't remember what the libraries were. I think that that's one of the things that we've talked about in this session, that maybe the people who haven't been to the library for a while, this is an interesting introduction for them, and a passionate introduction for them. But then what's next? So what is your library doing? And that's the story that you need to tell. This is what my library is doing. And this is what the federal regulations, this is what's happening in Washington, this is what's happening in our state capital, those kinds of things, that the decisions made there are going to have a major impact on our libraries all around the country. Libraries are funded 95 to 98% locally. So there's a reason why we're talking about things that are local, but we have to pay attention to what's going on nationally, and we have to work together. And I think the voices that are supporting libraries if we work together, we can fight what's going on around the country. There are no open questions, but I'm going to ask, I believe Dawn has her hand up. Do you want to add something?
Oh, I didn't realize I had my hand up. Sorry.
Well, you didn't have your hand up, but I
to
heard
leave the
noise.
library because it's closing.
Oh, there we go. All right. We'll let
No,
you
that's
get out of the
okay.
library then.
Somebody asked about photos and whether
Yes.
or not we had licensable photos, and I just replied that we definitely do. I wanted to say that one of the great ways that the New Orleans Public Library Friends and Foundation chapter used the film was to do it as a thank you to their volunteers. So they were able to get a theater for free that was donated to them one evening, and they invited all of their volunteers, and they gave them each one, I think, beer ticket and a ticket for popcorn, and they packed the house, and it was really fun, sort of morale boosting for your own volunteers or members or staff.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And there are other things that you can do with this, of course, but what you have to do is get the community together. This is great to watch at home by yourself, and you'll cry at the same times. But if you're together in a group watching this movie, then it's almost inevitable that someone's going to say, so how can we help? What can we do about this? And whether that's, can I write a check, or can I show this movie someplace else, or can I go to City Hall? Let your, if you're close to City Hall, if you're close to the town manager, make sure that those folks see that, because we don't need to be preaching to the choir. We need to be singing outside the choir. And so now that you've this is going to go for Deanna and for Nate. Now that you have done it once, what do you think? What's the follow-up? Because Deanna, I know you're an experienced fundraiser. So what's the next step? And then Nate, for you, what is the follow-up?
I'll begin, and just because I know things will wrap soon, I'll just squeeze in my thanks right now to everyone for today. I actually am toying with the idea of doing an annual screening. And I don't know if we'll be able to do it in the same manner, but I think this town could use it. And I think that Mara at the library we have only very tiny rooms there for screening, but so we're toying with like how to go about that. The volunteer appreciation in New Orleans idea sounded brilliant, and reminded me that it is now something when the film's available via PBS or for personal viewing, it's in our new board member onboarding packet to go find and watch the movie. Because our current board members have all seen it, but I think it should just be propagated. I'll stop there, and I'd love to hear what Nate is thinking.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it annually, but we posted the recording of it on our YouTube page, and I know it's gotten a lot of attention. So it doesn't have to be done just in the place where we had it in our great theater, but we can get it out there, I hope, in ways that will help people take the time to look at it and think about it. And these are critical issues. And in my estimate, this is not going to be something that is going to go away anytime soon. It's I think majority of people are in agreement that the library, the public library, is an important, valuable institution in building community and helping people understand the role of literacy. But there are some of them bad faith actors maybe out there who are not going to stop using the library for whatever other reasons. And we have to continue to talk about these things and help people understand that it really is something you can't take it for granted. You have to support it, you have to fund it, you have to vote for it when it's on the ballot, and volunteer and tell your friends about it. When people are having conversations questioning the benefit of the public library, you have to stand up and make those points that you can glean from the documentary.
Thank you all so much for joining us. And don't forget to check out the United for Libraries page. We've got all kinds of resources for you right there. And make sure you talk to the legislators and your administrators in town, because the funding is going to get bad. So let's all go out and raise some money and show some movies. And thank you, ladies, and thank you, Beth. Do we have any last minute?
Raise some hell too.
There we go.
I just wanted to say, if any of you guys who are listening are intimidated by these descriptions, 300-seat theaters and $5,000 costs, we have had screenings where 4 people show up, and people considered that a success. So it's not about reaching mobs of people. It's really about touching hearts in small ways. And this is
And what you do next. And what you do next with it.
Exactly.
Thank you, everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you all. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.